Let's see together how we are going to factor today a polynomial using the AC method. Some books refer to the AC method as the FOIL method. It's the most complete method of actually factoring polynomials. Polynomials, especially trinomials that they have an A that is different than 1. I know that most of you have already seen the way to factor polynomials x squared plus bx plus c. But what about ax squared plus bx plus c? These should be handled a little bit different. The a, b, and c are the coefficients of the actual trinomial. For this problem, the a is 1, the b is -5, and the c is the 6. As you can see right here, the way to identify a, b, c is to look at the trinomial and take it to the decreasing order of the powers of the trinomial. So what we have is x squared, the factor of that, the coefficient of that is 1, the b is going to be -5, and the c is the constant, is going to be equal to 6. Remember that we always consider the coefficients of the trinomial along with their signs. So, as you can see here, b is equal to -5. Let's see now together the method of FOIL. The first step, you identify the actual coefficients a, b, and c. For this problem, a is equal to 1, b is equal to -5, and c is equal to 6. What is our second step now? The second step is actually the reason that this method is also called AC method. We need to find the product of A times C. Since A is equal to 1 and C is equal to 6, A times 6, C is going to be equal to 6. You always find the A times C first as your second step. After you find the AC, you need to identify all the pairs of factors of the product AC. What are the factors here? Well, you take the number 6 and you split it into factors. The most obvious factor is the 1,6, since 1 times 6 is 6. But there is also the -1, -6. Since when you multiply two negative numbers, the result is positive. The other two factors of 6 is 2 and 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and -2, -3 is also 6. You should always remember to consider the negative factors as well. And then fourth step, what you need to do is to isolate the pair that adds up to b. So, you find the pairs of the different factors and you try to find which pair gives you b. The b in our case is -5. So you need to find the pair of factors 1, 6, -1, -6, 2,3 or -2, -3 that gives you -5. And this pair is the -2, -3. Since -2 plus -3 is equal to 5. In the next step, what we need to do is to split the middle term of the trinomial into two terms in order to continue with group factoring. So you take the negative 5x and you split it. But how? Using the factors of the 6 that you already found, the negative 2 and the negative 3. So instead of having now negative 5x, you are going to rewrite it as negative x, negative 3x. That gives you a total of negative 5x. So your trinomial is going to be rewritten as x squared minus 2x minus 3x plus 6. You are ready now to go to step 6. At this step, you group the terms into two groups. Sometimes you may need to play around with the groups in order to find the appropriate ones. In this case, it's easy. X squared with negative 2x, negative 3x with 6. You group them together and then you find the greatest common factor, the GCF, for each one of the pairs. So x squared minus 2x, you factor out the x, and it will give you x times x minus 2. And then you do the same with negative 3x plus 6. You factor out the negative 3, it gives you x minus 2 inside. Remember that when you group, you always have 4 factors, and they are all added to each other. When we group, we add the two groups. This is a very common mistake. Students forget that there is a plus between those two additions. Now we factor each of the groups, finding the GCF. The x squared minus 2x will become x times x minus 2. Since the x is the common factor here, and then you will do exactly the same for the negative 3x plus 6. So after you complete this step, instead of having 4 different terms for the trinomial, you are going to have 2 terms that each one of them will have 2 factors. We are ready now to go to step 6. This is the final step, or the step 8, and this is the final step of our method. What you need to do is to do one more group factoring, because as you will see here, the two factors of the polynomial that we have a common factor, and this common factor is the x minus 2. You can see here the x minus 2 is common to both terms of the polynomial. So what we can do is actually factor out the x minus 2 from the two factors, and what will remain will be multiplied by the x minus 2. It is exactly the same as if we had x times b minus 3 times b. Replace the x minus 2 with the b, and you see that this is what you actually have. You factor out the b, that in our case is nothing else than the x minus 2, and what you remain with is nothing else than b times x minus 3, that in our case will be x minus 2 times x minus 3. And this is our final result, x minus 2 times x minus 3.